boy. That's kind of that's the reaction I kept having after experiencing this. Hello everyone, DJ Neeks here, and welcome to what is going to be my review of Avengers Infinity War, where I'm pretty much just going to discuss the movie as best I can from my recollection. With spoilers included, by the way, okay? I want to make that very clear. This is a big spoiler warning for anyone tuning into this video. If you have not seen the movie, do not watch this video, okay? Pause it, close the window, close the tab, whatever you gotta do. Just get out of here, go see the movie, and then come back if you want to hear my thoughts as well as discuss, because I encourage you to if you're wanting to discuss this movie with someone, the spoilers, just if you want someone to talk to about this, feel free to use the comment section with each other or with myself. I'll be glad to discuss this with you guys. After you guys feel free to stick around and hear my thoughts. I don't know how long this is going to be. My review of Star Wars The Last Jedi, I think, was an hour and a half, but I was playing Lego Star Wars, so I was a little distracted, so I decided I don't want anything to distract me, so we're just going to play some poker, some offline poker against AI, where I just kind of, just do whatever, and, that way I can try my best to focus on discussing the movie. You'll have to forgive me, though. I saw it late last night. I'm filming this on Saturday, April 28th. I saw it late last night with my dad. It's a 2.5-hour movie, and I had, obviously, difficulty getting to sleep last night because my mind was racing thinking about this movie. I didn't fall asleep until very, very late, almost morning. So I ended up sleeping in quite a bit, and I'm trying to wake myself up. I took my energy shot and everything, just trying to wake my brain up so I can try to discuss this as best as I can, guys. I even am trying to grab some external sources to help me remind myself about some things. And I think this is one of those movies where by the end you're going to be wanting to do that just to kind of help remind yourself and also get some clarification on certain things. But yeah, all right. So here we go. Once remember, you have been warned. The spoiler warning is gone. We are now delving into the review with spoilers included. So obviously, I don't think I really need to go into detail about how much we all anticipated this movie and how incredible the build-up and hype for this one was, since we've had 10 years of build-up and excitement. I mean, I don't know if at the time we really thought it was going to be at this point, obviously. I mean, we all speculate as to where they could go with this, with the idea of the Infinity Wars, with Thanos getting the Infinity Gauntlet and the Infinity Stones, possibly as one of the big, climactic ways they would somehow try to conclude this. So, I mean, this movie does not, do a recap like this is what happened and this is what you need to know. And no, the movie just starts you right off. This includes stuff that you would have seen or known about if you had seen Thor Ragnarok, because the movie immediately starts off, and I knew something was off, something was up. The movie starts off with the new Marvel Studios opening that we've seen the last couple of movies, but instead of the big grand fare of dun 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 dun, there's nothing, and it's running and it's silence. And I was thinking to myself, did the guy in the movie theater forget to turn the sound on for the movie or something? And then I start to hear what sounds like a radio, it starts to get a little louder, and you start to realize it's an SOS, it's a distress call, and I'm like, oh, this is starting off dark, really dark. There's no music, it's just Marvel Studios It shows a 10, by the way. It highlights the I and the O to represent 10 years. And I was like, oh, that's clever. Oh, you guys. But it starts off like on a tone that made me go, oh, this is already getting dark. We are in for something here. And immediately it just shows. I mean, I was a little like caught off guard and disappointed at the beginning because it starts off with Thanos has already wrecked Thor's ship. He's holding Thor like all beat up. He's like talking to Loki, trying to get him to tell him where the Tesseract is. He shows him the gauntlet and it already has the purple stone of power, which if you remember, the last time we saw that was in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie when Ronan tried to use it and the Guardians used it to kill him, and then they left it with the Nova Corps on Xandar under their protection. So basically, and they say in the movie, he said, oh, well, he's already wrecked Xandar. So apparently off screen, before the movie starts, Thanos goes to Xandar, wrecks Xandar, and takes the Infinity Stone of Power. So he already has one of the stones, and it just happens off camera. Now, I think they probably could have handled this a little better in terms of maybe we see a glimpse of maybe his ship flying away from Xandar as it's like left in flames and ruins to indicate, oh, that was Xandar, and now it's not. It's a pile of burning rubble. You know, it's just something like that to show us, oh, okay, he already went and got this power stone. But he just like holds up and he's like, hey, look what I got. And it's like, oh, okay. This is where this is where the motions started to flow, people. The motions will flow in this movie. You are gonna feel so many emotions throughout this movie. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of people are praising this movie, but also having a knee-jerk reaction of cursing this movie because of the emotions they felt by the end of this movie. This movie takes you through an emotional roller coaster ride where you will feel so high and then down and up and down and up and down with sadness and joy and shock and awe and just all these different kinds of just emotions that some people are not going to be very happy to feel watching this movie. But for those of us who have been waiting for this, we were kind of expecting to feel this, just perhaps not to the level that they did go, which is an appreciation to their part that they were willing to actually go this far. A lot of people are going to have, a very negative reaction to it, but I'm going to go into details to why it's okay. It's okay to feel this way. And you may not like it at first, but as, I'm like to say that as time goes on, it won't be as bad as you think. At least that's what I'm hoping for. That's my optimistic view on this. So anyway, as I said, the emotions begin right off the bat, where he is demanding from Loki to give him the Tesseract or he's going to kill Thor. And he's already pretty much killed everyone on the ship, except Heimdall is still there. He's like on his dying breath, and it's like, oh, Heimdall, and you can't really see anyone else. You can't tell anyone else. I couldn't see Valkyrie, and a lot of people are speculating. In fact, on my list here that I pulled from IGN, they made an article here to help you remind yourself. It's who died and who lives in Avengers Infinity War. It's a very spoiler-filled slideshow showing each person, giving you a status on them. But let me see. Valkyrie's like very like towards the end here. Here is what they speculate about Valkyrie and what I'm curious about. No. Hold on. There she is. The movie opens with Thanos having wiped out half of the remaining Asgardians, already a remnant of their original numbers due to the events of Thor Ragnarok. We can only assume that since we didn't see her corpse, or that of Korg and Meek, that they escaped in pods to lead the surviving Asgardians to safety. But who among them survived the Infinity Gauntlet? Did yet another half of that surviving half die in the big snap? So that's the question I'm curious about is, was she killed amongst the original people, or did she escape with, I guess, the they never really make that clear. Like, did he kill everyone on that ship, or did he like literally just kill half of the people on the ship and then blow the rest up with the ship? Because it's it's very unclear on that regard. Like, on Thanos wanting to wipe out half of the universe, but sometimes he'll literally like wipe out half of like a planet or a ship that he conquers, or he'll kill them all of that. It's not very clear in that regard. Like, when he means half, does he literally mean that for everything that he destroys or conquers, or it's a little unclear in that regard. Obviously half the universe, yes, but like, what about the little things, like half of a spaceship he captures, half of a planet he captures? I mean, that's shown in this, but in a flashback with Gamora. But anyway, so yeah, all we see are Loki, Thor, and Heimdall. We don't see Valkyrie. We don't see Korg, Meek, anyone else. I really hope Valkyrie made it out of there. I really do. There was just a part of me that actually wanted... I thought Valkyrie was, like, perfect for Thor. There was a part of me that actually wanted to see the two of them end up together after his failed relationship, I guess you could say now, with Jane. But let's face it, we all probably thought that, oh gosh, what was her name from the first two Thor movies? The female warrior who was part of that band of Asgardians. I can't remember her name, but I mean, she was more of a fit for Thor than Jane was, but Thor was head over heels for Jane, so, but anyway, let's get down to the nitty gritty here. Loki ends up coming out a good guy here, where at first he's trying to call, he's trying to mess with Thanos. He drops the line, "We have a Hulk." The line that was dropped on him in the first Avengers movie, he gets to drop it on Thanos. Hulk shows up, tries to fight Thanos. Thanos holds his own and actually beats Hulk. And you can, I thought I saw, like, what looked like bruises or lumps on Hulk's face. Like, he was already getting, like, big, like, a bruise the size of a softball or a baseball or something. It was like, wow, he really beat up Hulk. And he's threatening to kill Thor if he doesn't give him the Tesseract. And Loki, Thor's like, "Oh, that died on Asgard," and then Loki reveals it because he was hiding it. The god of mischief, and he's like, "Oh, you're the worst, brother." And there's a point where he's ready to swear his fealty to Thanos again, but then he pulls out his dagger. He tries to stab him, but Thanos uses the gauntlet to stop it, and he kills Loki after Loki gets a last line in saying, "You will never be a god," trying to taunt him or something, like, "You're going to lose." And he basically crushes Loki's neck and kills Loki. The first one, and it's a character that many of us just came to absolutely love because of Tom Hiddleston. Tom Hiddleston made Loki a beloved character. Many of us were not really, like, sure about, like, Loki. They kind of reference him in The Mask, the Jim Carrey Mask movie, I guess, Loki. But then Tom Hiddleston just took the character and he just made it a incredibly memorable character. So, Tom Hiddleston, if this is it, man, my hat's off to you. You did an amazing job making a character that many of us didn't really know about, and you made a character that we all just fell in love with. We all loved Loki. So, this has been an awful day for Thor. Oh, by the way, Thanos kills Heimdall as well. He just kills everybody in front of Thor. And Thor is just, like, almost a broken man at this point. Just awful for Thor. And the children of Thanos, the people who are, like, his main generals, the one who is basically a master of the mystic arts, like Doctor Strange, grants him the Tesseract after taking it from Loki. Thanos holds the cube of the Tesseract. Remember, this was the cube that anyone who touched it, like their hand was burnt, or like they, it killed them or something like that. It was so powerful. And he holds it like it's like, oh, look at this. It's like an ice cube. and then he just crushes it, blows the dust off, and just puts the stone in the gauntlet. And it's like, holy moly. Oh, by the way, before Thanos kills Heimdall, he uses the last of the Bifrost to send Hulk back to Earth to try and have Banner warn everybody about Thanos and get them ready to defend. Then he kills Heimdall. And then he uses the Power Stone to basically destroy the ship or set it on fire. He used the Tesseract to get out of there, because now he can just portal in and out of anywhere in space using the Tesseract. And Thor is, I guess, able to survive the vacuum of space because the ship blows up, and he's just kind of unconscious floating there in space for the Guardians to run into him later on. And this is where we start to get our cameos and team-ups. We see Doctor Strange and Wong discussing getting Subway. Banner falls into this New York sanctum and starts, tries to warn them. Doctor Strange says, "Who?" And the title card comes up with the traditional dun, 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 dun. And at that point, you're like, yeah, here we go. And, well, yeah. We get to see Strange. He shows up to get Tony to meet up with Banner and hear about the Infinity Stones. They basically take a moment to refresh everybody's memory about the Infinity Stones, why this is a big deal, what each stone does, what they each are capable of, why having all 6 of them together is awful for all of us. A nice little refresher. And then things start to pick up as we see, I guess, a Wheel of Death, or I don't know. They never really clarified what the point of that thing was, or if that was just a ship or something. But then the generals of or the children of Thanos start to show up to try and get the stones on Earth and other places. So then we start to get our, there's a lot of great action in this movie. I will say that there's a ton of great action in this one. There's a lot of great fight scenes. Especially involving some of the team-ups. That's just fantastic. We get to see, this initial team-up with Iron Man, Banner, and Doctor Strange. Then we get to see Spider-Man. It's basically what you saw in the trailer. We get our Stan Lee cameo. Yeah, of course, we had to. We get to see some fighting. We get to... It's like, again, guys, I'm trying to recollect as much of this as I can. I gotta go see it a second time. I'm feeling that need. I want to go see it again. Because this is how it was with some of the last 2 Star Wars movies. The first movie, I was just excited, and I was like, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what's gonna happen. Where I'm just all giddy, and when something shocking happened, I was just in shock. I didn't really feel sad or emotional. But when I went to go see it the second time, knowing what was going to happen, then I got emotional. When I saw Force Awakens the second time, spoilers, by the way, but if you haven't seen Force Awakens by this point, it's your own fault. But the second time I saw Force Awakens in theaters, knowing what was going to happen with Han Solo, then when that happened, then I got emotional. I got teared up. I got teary up. The first time I was just in shock, I couldn't believe it actually happened. But the second time, knowing what was going to happen, then I started to, the tears started to flow the second time I saw it. I expect that may happen when I go see this a second time, which I'm really eager to do now, thinking about this and hearing more, thinking back on it, thinking more on it. Let's just go all in here. All right, I won. Very nice. I'm trying to fully recollect some of these things. We are definitely dealing with the aftermath of Civil War, because Tony even has to catch Banner up on the fact that, oh yeah, by the way, Civil War happened and the Avengers broke up, and he's like, what, so we're like a band? We're what, we're the Beatles? We broke up? And he's like, yeah, pretty much. But they try to, obviously, because Doctor Strange has the Time Stone, the Eye of Agamotto, he's a primary target for the Children of Thanos, and they suggest destroying it, and they're like, no, we protect it, we guard it. Tony is all about, let's just destroy them, and Strange is like, no, we are not destroying them. We are not destroying the Time Stone. We need it. We need to use it. It's like one of our advantages here, and it's part of my duty as the Sorcerer Supreme. And obviously there's conflict with these characters where someone like Tony doesn't really get it, or doesn't understand that aspect of the Doctor Strange, mystical portion of that world. Which is great, seeing all these interactions. We were very eagerly waiting to see how these characters would interact with each other, knowing how far apart some of them are and how bizarre some of it can be. Some of those, they can be. I think one of the next things, if I recall, that I remember was we then see the Guardians. They're flying to another cool 80s song. As you would expect. They run into the area where Thor's ship was. Thor hits the windshield, and they basically find out about what happened with Thanos from Thor. Thor is determined to go back to the forge of the Heart of a Dying Star to get a new weapon. He either wants to get his hammer back or to get a new weapon that's supposed to be just as good, if not better, than his hammer was, Mjolnir. So Rocket wants to go. Groot also goes, who's a teenager and playing a video game most of the time. It's great. It's hilarious. Thor and Star-Lord do not hit it off very well. The rest of the Guardians want to go to nowhere because they want to see if they can stop Thanos from getting the ether, the reality stone from the Collector, which was referenced and shown in Thor: The Dark World. So if you have watched every movie, you'd be keeping track of okay, this stone is here, this stone is there, this stone is, so they want to see if they can get there to nowhere and stop him from getting the reality stone from the Collector first before Thanos gets there. So we have them going off in their different directions. Strange was kidnapped by the child of Thanos, who's just as much of a master of the mystic arts, I guess, as Strange is. But both Iron Man and Spider-Man get on board to try and help him and save him. Meanwhile, as we find out about this, Banner was left behind, and he tries to rally the rest of the group. He remembers, of course, that Vision has one of the other stones, and he tries to contact Captain America, Steve Rogers, to try and see if they can find Vision, because Vision apparently has not been around. Well, apparently that's because he and Scarlet Witch, Wanda, ran off together to be romantically involved for a couple of years. They've just been on a romantic getaway, pretty much. That he makes himself look human. They are lovers, as is indicated. They pretty much have become a romantic couple at this point. But the children of Thanos, they can find them. They find them. They try to take the stone from Vision. Captain America shows up to help save him and Scarlet Witch, along with Black Widow and Falcon. Pretty much the people who were helping Captain America in Civil War show up to help Vision and Scarlet Witch. General Ross is still on the tirade about him not following the Accords. Thanos is coming to, kill half the universe, and he even wants War Machine to arrest them. You want him to arrest them when Thanos is going to kill half of everybody. This is it just boggled my mind that he apparently didn't understand the situation, and that having them arrested would not help anybody. It doesn't make matters better, but that's what I guess the point of his character was supposed to be, that government jerk who doesn't understand anything. I guess was the point of that. I mean, after all, he doesn't really know what's fully going on here, so I guess that's probably to be expected. But we then see them hey, happy reunion, everybody, and then they're discussing about getting the stone, from removed from Vision without trying to kill him, or maybe discussing whether or not they should just destroy it and in turn possibly destroy Vision as well. They want to see if they can be able to figure out a way to somehow remove what makes Vision him, from the stone, so that they can remove or destroy the stone without destroying Vision, because he's kind of part of a computer program, so to speak. So it's possible to just kind of like remove him and save him, what is him, and still destroy the stone without risking hurting him or killing him. So of course, where do they go? They go to Wakanda to see Shuri and Black Panther, which is great because we just saw them in the last movie. So that's going on. Meanwhile, there's a lot of meanwhile. Like, you're constantly going back and forth. Like, we'll go back to what's going on with Thor, Rocket, and Groot as they go to the Forge. We'll go back to Strange, Spider-Man, and Iron Man as they are heading to Titan and meeting up with the other Guardians to see if they can be able to confront Thanos or stop him. There's a lot of that. Of course, Thanos is already there, though he puts on a show because he has the Reality Stone. He can make reality whatever he wants. He can basically like make illusions and things like that. And here was something I wasn't entirely sure about what they were going to do with it. If you guys recall, 5 of the stones had been shown up to this point. We had no idea where the last stone was, the Soul Stone, the last and 6th Infinity Stone. We didn't know anything about it. We had no reference to it, no like hint of where it was, what was going on with it, nothing until now. Because apparently Gamora knew where it was the entire time, and Thanos knows. So after he puts on his show at nowhere, he kidnaps Gamora. Gamora tries to get Peter to kill her so that he can't find out, but because of the Reality Stone, even though Star-Lord does pull the trigger to kill her, he just turns the blaster into a bubble gun, and it can't kill her because he changed reality around him. That's what he can do. And he kidnaps Nebula. You know what? Let me take a moment here to gush about Thanos. Okay? This, despite all the characters, Avengers, Guardians, despite all those characters we all love, this movie has Thanos as the star. This is not the Avengers movie. This is not the Guardians movie. This is Thanos' movie. No one shined in this movie more than Thanos as a villain. And he has now taken the pedestal, as he should, as the best villain we have seen in these movies. And probably one of the best villains I've ever seen in a movie. It's incredible how in depth they went with his character and his motivations and why he's doing what he's doing, and it was just I was so blown away that they were so thorough in trying to make it clear why he's doing what he's doing, that he truly believes that what he is doing is what is best for everyone involved, that's what's best for the entire universe, that he believes he is doing the right thing, that he is the hero of this story. It was so good and so well handled and well done. I was just blown away by it, and it just made him an even better villain, an even greater villain in character. That this was like, there were times I was like, okay, can we get back to Thanos? Like, they would show the children of Thanos fighting, and I was like, can we get back to Thanos, please? I wanted more of Thanos, because he was so great in this. Josh Brolin, just a great job with his performance as Thanos in this. This is Thanos' movie, without question. And the CGI on him I thought it was fantastic. Just even little subtle movements in his face was just seamless and flawless. Like, there was no bad CGI when it involved Thanos. He was, like, they made sure that they had their top-notch, A-quality CGI effects when it came to Thanos. They wanted nothing wrong with his appearance. And I thought, in my opinion, they succeeded with flying colors. Oh, he was just so great. Just all these moments he had. which let me take a moment to talk about. I guess I'll go back to what I was saying before. I didn't want to gush about him. He finds out from Gamora where the Soul Stone is by kidnapping Nebula. Or rather, he didn't kidnap Nebula. Nebula showed up to try and kill him, and he's just been holding her captive ever since, torturing her, taking her apart piece by piece because she's metallic. And she finally confesses where the Soul Stone is, and they go to this planet, and they're confronted by a hooded figure, and I was like, what is this? Is this some kind of lore involving the Soul Stone? And I was blown away. Guys, this was the first moment where my jaw just dropped, and I sat up in my seat just out of complete shock at what at this. The character that greeted Thanos when he went to go see the Soul Stone was none other than the Red Skull. We haven't seen the Red Skull since the first Captain America movie, and I was so happy. I have been saying ever since that movie, I wanted them to somehow bring the Red Skull back. I loved the Red Skull in the first Captain America movie. He was so great in that movie. Hugo Weaving was fantastic as the Red Skull in that movie. I wanted them to somehow bring him back. I wasn't sure how, but when I was rewatching these movies in recent times leading up to this, you can see that when he at the end of that movie, when he's holding the Tesseract, it looks like it transported him into space instead of just outright killing him. Everyone assumed that he was just killed. I was like, it looks like he was transported into space somewhere, and I was hoping they would somehow bring that back, and they did. Apparently he was, the Tesseract banished him to this planet where the Soul Stone was being kept, and he's now been like the keeper of the Soul Stone, or the guardian of it, for all this time, where he's now like, and he looks like he's like a ghoul reaper or something like that with his appearance. But like, as soon as his face was revealed under that hood, I was floored. I couldn't believe they brought him back. I was so happy. It seemed like Hugo Weaving, though it sounds like Johann Schmidt has lost his German Nazi accent. Like, it sounded like he spoke with complete clear English, with no German accent whatsoever. Maybe that's due to his time there, though I'm not really sure why that would be the case. But I'm pretty sure that was Hugo Weaving. I heard that Hugo Weaving had an awful time making that movie, and he never wanted to be part of a Marvel movie ever again, which is probably why they haven't brought the Red Skull back. When I heard about it, I was like, well, I guess that's, if he's not willing to come back. But I guess because it was a very small cameo, but just the fact that he was there just made me happy to see him again. Because I just enjoyed his character and as a villain so much in the first Captain America movie, but we get another gut-wrenching emotional moment here, where he says to Thanos that in order for the Soul Stone to be acquired, a sacrifice needs to be made, a soul for a soul, and as soon as I realized that, like, at first I thought, well, I guess he would have to get out of his soul. And then I realized, and then I remembered he said, no, it has to be something you love. And I went, and I realized he was referring to Gamora. And Gamora, she was the last one in the movie, or rather, I should say the movie theater, because everyone else in the auditorium got it right away. We all were dreading what was about to happen. But Gamora never put it together that he was going to sacrifice her. Because I guess she thought the idea that he actually loved her was just beyond her. But he was like in tears, and she even like jokes and mocks, like, tears, really? And Red Skull's like, they are not for him. And she then starts to realize it, and I'm like, how did you not realize this? But I guess she just couldn't fathom the concept that Thanos actually loved her like that, even though he had said it before. But I guess the idea was like he thought he loved her as a daughter, but he also kind of hated her because she resented him and hated him, and he throws her off the ledge and kills her to get the Soul Stone. And it then shows him in an alternate realm, like an orange realm, which I've heard has to do with the Soul Stone, which some are theorizing that this is going to play a factor in the next Avengers movie as to how things can get better. Let me put it that way before we get to the ending where I elaborate more on that. But he now has the Soul Stone. So now, at that point, only 2 stones remain. The Mind Stone from Vision and the Time Stone from Doctor Strange. So as that is going on, Iron Man, Spider-Man, that group, along with the Guardians and Doctor Strange, they're all on Titan, kind of awaiting Thanos so they can stop him and see if they can rescue Gamora, because they don't know about Gamora. And they're discussing a plan, and while they're discussing a plan, yeah, we get some funny moments. But then, here's something really important. We see Doctor Strange using the Time Stone to actually look into the future. And he tells them, I used the stone to look in the future, see all the possible outcomes of how this could go down. And he's like, how many were there? He said, over 14 million. And he asked, well, how many of those do we win? And he said, 1. And that is cut off, and then it leads us to then Thanos showing up there, confronting Doctor Strange, telling more about his backstory, about why he's doing this, about that it used to be his planet, Titan, and he had a solution. They would not do it, and now it's extinct. He's all that's left because they wouldn't go with his plan, which was to wipe out half the population, because his whole thing is that if you wipe out half the population, there are then more resources to go around for people, where now you can start over and be able to not be like locusts and consume everything and die out, where if there's only half, then you have more resources to go around for those who are remaining. It's a very twisted sense and, perspective and viewpoint on how to save, people from extinction, but he truly believes this is like the best possible solution. And, he uses the Reality Stone to actually show this to Strange and give more on this. And this was part of the explaining of his motivations and backstory that I just was really impressed by. And then they tried to use a plan to remove the gauntlet from his hand. But then we find out, or Quill finds out, that Gamora is dead, and he ruins the plan in his rage to get back at Thanos. And there's going to be a point where he almost kills Iron Man, and I was dreading. I did not want Iron Man to be the one to go. I've always loved Tony Stark and Iron Man, and I was not hoping that he was going to be one of those that would die. And he stabbed him, and he's like, I respect you, actually, and I hope they remember you. And he's about to kill him, but then Doctor Strange actually gives him the Time Stone. And some people are confused about this, because earlier he makes it clear to Tony. He says, I will let you and that kid, Spider-Man, I'll let you die before I give up the Time Stone. Protecting the Time Stone means more to me than your lives. And people are confused by this choice then later on, that he just gives him the Time Stone. But remember, he said there was only one outcome where they win and Thanos loses. And later on, he tells Tony there was no other way. So apparently, him giving the Time Stone and saving Tony is part of this scenario where they win. Which is very interesting, to see how that plays out. Obviously, we have to wait a year to find out. But anyway, he then now has the Time Stone, which is incredibly crucial here as to what happens later on. So, meanwhile, while that is happening, Thor is at the Forge. We get to see Peter Dinklage as a giant dwarf, which I found hysterical. One, that he's a dwarf. Two, that the dwarf is apparently a giant, which is just kind of hilarious in its own right. But three, also that it was Peter Dinklage who's playing a dwarf, which, if you guys know anything about Game of Thrones, that's very funny. But he apparently was the one who made the gauntlet. He says that there used to be 300 dwarves here. Thanos showed up, and he would threaten that he was going to kill all of them unless I did what he said, which was make the gauntlet. And I foolishly thought that he would keep his word. So I made the gauntlet for him, and then he killed everyone but me. And people are confused why he left him alive. And he said, well, you will live, your life is yours as a thank you for making this, but your hands are mine. Like, he like ruins his, like, he like apparently cut off his hands or something, and he had like I think it was either robotic or stone hands in place, so he was indicating that his forging days were supposedly over. Plus, the star, like the forge, the fire that lit the forge was like done. It was like out. And so Thor has to try and help him reignite the forge in order to make him a replacement weapon for Mjolnir. And he, gives him the pep talk, and they're going to try and do it. He's going to make him not a hammer, he's going to make him an axe. A powerful axe that's going to be called Stormbreaker, which is supposedly going to be stronger than Mjolnir ever was, which is pretty cool. But the device that holds open the fire breaks, and so now the only way to keep the fire lit long enough to melt the metal to make the axe, Thor has to literally hold it open in the place where the fire's going to go through. So it's going to be burning him while also igniting the forge, which was, he's like it's, you're going to be feeling the impact, the heat impact of a star on you. It's going to kill you. You can't survive that. And Thor's just willing to do it to try and make sure that they can have a chance at defeating Thanos. And they succeed with some help from Groot. The metal is made, and he can't find the handle. So Groot uses his arm to make the handle, cuts off his arm to finish making the axe. Meanwhile, on Earth, they have taken Vision to Wakanda. Shuri is going to be working on trying to remove everything that was Vision, copy it onto like another computer disk or something, so that they can save Vision enough to be able to remove the stone without killing him. While that's going on, though, Thanos' army and the rest of the children of Thanos show up to try and get Vision. A big battle ensues on Wakanda. M'Baku came back. I was so happy to see M'Baku again. Pretty much people that you had just gotten to know and meet. Which, by the way, did you know that Black Panther is now the third highest grossing movie of all time, behind only Star Wars, The Force Awakens, and Avatar? That's pretty impressive. Which plays a factor into what we suspect is gonna, with the upcoming ending. So, big battle ensues. Thor shows up to help with the big battle as they're fighting on the field to prevent them from getting to Vision. And some sneak in to get Vision. Vision has to, fight outside in order to try and keep them away from the stone. Fighting. And we eventually get to the point where Thanos has, of course, left Titan now. That he has 5 stones. He just needs Vision's Mind Stone. So he goes there to get Vision. Everyone there, including Captain America. Banner using the Hulk Buster because for some reason Hulk will not come out and fight. And I guess this was having to do... I guess they're going to explain this later. But Hulk would refuse to come out no matter how much Banner tried to call him out. It was like he was ashamed or embarrassed or humiliated that he actually lost a fight to Thanos, because he had never lost before. Hulk always won a fight, and as far as I can recall, I can't remember him ever losing a fight. And I guess Hulk just was... He just, either he wasn't recovered, or they never explained why Hulk would not come out. I suspect that's going to come later. But, so Banner's using the Hulk Buster armor, which was pretty funny in its own right, that he's using that after it beat him up in Age of Ultron. But, that's going on, and Thanos just kind of, walks through all of them. Vision convinces Scarlet Witch to destroy the stone. Which, by the way, I should also point out, Shuri got out of there. She escaped with what was, what she was able to get onto her disc, or, whatever. It was a floppy, I guess. I don't know. I doubt it was a floppy, but I'm making, just trying to tell you that she got out of there with whatever she was trying to remove or copy from Vision. Oh my gosh, look at that. 3 jacks. Wow. On the flop there. Anyway. He convinces her, and she holds Thanos back and she destroys the stone. And you're thinking, that's it. We lost Vision, but we stopped him from getting all 6 stones. But then, remember, I said this was important. Then he uses the time stone to reverse time to get the last stone. They use the same time loop idea that Doctor Strange used in his movie. So he takes it out, and he now has all 6 stones. Thor shows up to try and stop him. He stabs him in the gut, thinking, but then Thanos says to him, "You should have gone for the head." And I was not really expecting this, but because I thought they were just symbolic when they're saying, "Oh, he just has to get all 6 stones, and then he could just snap his fingers like that, and half the universe is dead." I didn't think they were gonna take it so literal. I didn't think they were gonna go so literal with that. But he literally snaps his fingers, the screen goes white. He then has like a vision where he's talking with young girl Gamora. Like, I guess this is in the realm of the Soul Stone, supposedly, where she's asking him, "Did you do it?" "Yes." "What did it cost?" "Everything." And then we go back to the gauntlet is now, I couldn't really tell. It looked like it was either in shambles or it was like cracked or it was broken now. It looked like all 6 stones were still completely fine and intact, but the gauntlet itself looked like it was like shorting out. It looked like it basically had busted itself from using the power of all 6 stones. And Thor's like, "What did you do? What did you do?" And then he like teleports out of there with the Tesseract. And you're thinking, did it fail? Did it work? And then it happens, guys. It happens. People, random characters, just start to fade away from existence. And I'm not talking like just side characters. Like, I'm talking like notable main characters. Black Panther was one of the first. And you're just in shock that Black Panther, he just had his movie. He just got introduced. And he's gone. Other characters, Groot fades away. We then go back to Titan. We see Mantis, Drax, Star-Lord fades away. Doctor Strange, before he fades away, he says to Tony, "There was no other way." And then he fades away from existence. Spider-Man, he starts to say he doesn't feel good. He goes to Tony, he hugs him, and he says, "I don't want to go, I don't want to die." And it's gut-wrenching. It's painful. And then he fades away. Spider-Man. And then we go back to Bucky. He fades away in front of Captain America. And Captain America's like grasping at his ashes, and Scarlet Witch, she fades away. Hold on. Let me get my list here. Let me get the list here that IGN provided so we can like keep track of everybody who died and who survived. Because a lot of people were like, they couldn't keep track of it. So I want to try and help you guys keep track. Let me start here at the beginning. Spider-Man, gone. Black Panther. Vision, obviously gone. But keep in mind, we don't know how much of him was copied by that disc from Shuri. So Shuri could possibly bring him back. Loki, I already talked about that. Heimdall, Gamora, Star-Lord, Groot, Drax, and Mantis. Like, the only surviving Guardian of the Galaxy at the end of this is Rocket Raccoon. Doctor Strange gone. Scarlet Witch gone. Bucky gone. Falcon, he's gone. So Captain America loses his 2 best buddies, Bucky and Sam. Falcon gone. And by the end of this, the last shot of the movie is Thanos, who is like in a cabin. Just a cabin on, I guess it's on Earth. I couldn't really tell. It looked like just some cabin in the woods on Earth. The sun is rising. He's watching the sunrise, and it cuts to the credits. And oh my gosh. Guys, I turned to my dad and I said, "Is this what it felt like when you first saw The Empire Strikes Back in theaters?" And he just nodded his head. And this is like that new movie for this generation where you are left with that feeling of, are you kidding me? And you're left with more questions than answers, and it feels like we lost. It feels like the bad guy won. But then it does go out of its way to remind you, this is not the end of the story. This isn't the conclusion. This is only this is a very hurtful, painful, sad chapter in this story, but it's not the final chapter in the story. This is only that chapter in the story where it looks like the bad guy has won. And this is not unprecedented, but in multiple forms of media, not just in movies. But Final Fantasy VI is a game that is remembered very much so because in that game, the bad guy won. He actually destroyed the world, or, so to speak. He didn't blow it up. He was victorious in his plan. He became like the ruler of the planet. But then our heroes regathered themselves to defeat him. And it almost feels like they're going the route of Final Fantasy VI in this regard. The bad guy, he succeeds in his plan, but then the good guys may rally to defeat him and recover. I'm not really sure if they're going to go that route, but that's kind of what it feels like. And like, how many other different scenarios do they actually have the bad guy succeed in his plan? I'm not going to say he won, but he succeeded in his goal for now. It's for now. I mean, so anyway, that's the feeling was just ominous and just eerie. And there's no scene during the credits, but there is a scene at the end of the credits. So be sure to stick around at the end of the credits. The scene shows Maria Hill and Nick Fury. They are apparently getting readings on what's going on in Wakanda. Just kind of, I guess, discussing what's going on, so to speak. They don't really know fully what's going on. But then, like a car crashes, they look, see, there's nobody there. My dad says, like, oh, it's like the rapture. The idea that when the rapture happens, people will just no longer be there. They'll, like, have, faded away. And, like, planes will crash, helicopters crash, cars crash, because now the people who were driving those are gone. In that regard. That's what I'm referring to. And they see, a helicopter crash, and Fury's like, okay, we got to go to Code Red. And then Maria fades away. And it was just like, oh my gosh. And then Fury is like, okay, we got to do something. And then he starts to fade away. And of course, I couldn't believe they, I guess it made, but oh my goodness, guys. They had Samuel L. Jackson almost drop his very well-known curse word phrase with the initials MF. He fades away before he can drop it. But what they show here, because Nick Fury, he's now gone. So hold on, let me finish my list before I tell you the important thing about that scene. All the children of Thanos died, by the way. Like, every child Thanos, like, fought, but then they got killed. Xandar and the Nova Corps, presumed dead. The Collector, presumed dead. Alright. And so we see what looked like a beeper. I guess it was his version of a beeper. And it shows sending, and then it shows in response, it shows a logo, and I recognized it as the Captain Marvel logo. Basically teasing that what's coming next is the in the next part of this story, or supposedly, apparently the Captain Marvel movie doesn't take place after this. It actually is a prequel movie. It takes place in the 90s, from what I've heard, to explain Captain Marvel, how she got her powers, what's been going on all this time. Apparently I heard they're going to have Nick Fury in that movie with 2 eyes, because this takes place in the 90s. It's a prequel. I've also heard that Ant-Man and the Wasp, which comes out in 2 months, by the way, in July, that is going to be taking place either before or during Infinity War, not afterwards. So I'm very curious about how that's going to go down. But that's the indication that now they're calling in Captain Marvel to show up. Obviously, they need to explain why now. Why'd you keep this, or Captain Marvel, back all this time? Why did you wait this long? Why didn't you bring her in earlier? They obviously need to address that. They need to address that, otherwise that's a very critical plot point. If she then comes in and saves the day and shows, like, is able to be strong enough that she could have defeated Thanos much earlier, I don't know. But I think story-wise they have to explain this plot hole as to if they could have just called in Captain Marvel, why didn't they do it earlier? So, again, let me now finish the list now I've gone over that. Iron Man. alive. Captain America, alive. Thor, alive. Black Widow, alive. Hulk, Bruce Banner, alive. All the Phase 1 Avengers, including Hawkeye. Hawkeye wasn't in this movie. They said he was under house arrest by the government because apparently he and Ant-Man took a house arrest deal to protect their families. They didn't want the government to hurt their family, so they agreed to be under house arrest. So apparently Hawkeye has been under house arrest on his farm from Age of Ultron this entire movie. But presumably he'll be okay. I think. Rocket Raccoon, the only Guardian alive. Rhodey, War Machine, he's alive. He did make it out. Thanos, alive. Okoye, alive. Nebula, alive. M'Baku, alive. The Red Skull, question marks. We don't know. I don't know if it wiped him away, but, I mean, who knows if he'll come back. You know, perhaps Hugo Weaving agreed for, like, one brief little cameo and that was it. He'll never come back. I don't know. Shuri, she's presumed alive. They didn't show her fading away, so I'm assuming she is alive. She got out with whatever was left of Vision to try and save him. I mean, I expect that her tech and such would be crucial to helping somehow save things. Wong, he's presumed living. He went back to defend the Sanctum. I presume that he's going to be living, and he'll have access to the entire library of spells to try and somehow figure out, you know, look to see if there's some kind of spell or something that can help save, you know, fix all this. Pepper Potts, presumed living. It would be awful if she faded away too. It's, you know, but we don't know. Status unknown. I guess the dwarf's name was Eitri. That was played by Peter Dinklage. Unknown. Hawkeye, presumed living, along with his family. Ant-Man and the Wasp, presumed living, though we'll have to wait and see what happens with Ant-Man and the Wasp in a couple months. Captain Marvel, presumed living. I mean, it'd be very, very awful, just kind of silly and stupid if they send out that call for her for that tease and then she fades away. That'd be really stupid. If she's supposed to be, like, I think the X Factor to saving the day and stopping Thanos. Valkyrie, Corgan Meek, status unknown. I'm hoping they're still alive. Nakia, the romantic interest of Black Panther from the Black Panther movie, unknown. Who knows? Hank Pym, status unknown, but we'll probably find out in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Aunt May, unknown. I mean, Spider-Man's gone, but who knows with her? Happy Hogan, who knows? Status unknown. Everett Ross, you know, Agent Bilbo, unknown. Sharon Carter, you know, Agent Carter's niece, who was, you know, romantic interest for Captain America in Civil War, status unknown. The Ravagers, status unknown, from Guardians of the Galaxy. It is important to point out, though, that, and I'll get into this in a second, actually. Mordo from Doctor Strange, unknown. And I don't know why they included this. Janet Van Dyne, who is the original Wasp, is, you know, Hank Pym's wife. You know, apparently they listed her as unknown, which I guess, I don't know, is that supposed to be an implication that perhaps she'll still be alive or come back? But here's something to keep in mind, guys, as to give you an idea as to what they may do here. Because, yes, it seems awful. All these characters have died or been wiped away from existence. But let's also keep in mind, if you look at possible either announced or rumored upcoming Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, there's a lot of movies involving characters, or not a lot, but there are some movies involving characters that died at the end of this. For one, they have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 slated to come out in 2020, 2 years from now. I'm pretty sure they're going to be coming back. That I don't think they would have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 without the Guardians of the Galaxy, with only Rocket Raccoon alive. So I'm pretty sure somehow the Guardians are coming back. A Spider-Man Homecoming sequel is supposed to come out. So obviously I think Spider-Man's going to be coming back. The fact that they wanted this to come out, like, presumably all we are getting is Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then we're going to get the Captain Marvel movie, and then we're going to get Avengers 4, which is still untitled officially, though there are some that are, you know, speculating and rumoring about possible titles for the movie, such as Avengers Endgame, which was an important line in the movie, actually. I think it was Doctor Strange who said, "This is the end game." It was like very much towards the end of the movie. Like he said, "This is now the end game." And I don't remember if that was after he gave him the Time Stone or not. I really don't remember. Actually, I think I do. I think I remember that after he gives Thanos the Time Stone, Tony, by the way, he seals up the wound to try and keep himself alive. And he looks at Strange and he says, "Why did you do that?" And Strange says, "This is the end game." And I guess trying to tell him that this is it. We are like in the end game of this now, and somehow letting him know that this is all part of the plan. I had to give him the Time Stone to make sure that you lived. That's the implication to me, is that he saw in that one outcome they win, Tony Stark has to live, even if it means giving him the Time Stone and letting him snap his fingers. Which is, obviously, we have to wait and find out a year from now in Avengers 4 to see how that plays out, why that was so crucial. Hold on, I had to take a sip of water there. Obviously, talking for almost an hour about this movie is going to cause my throat to be a little tired. But, man, guys, I mean, my dad even said to me as we were leaving the theater, he said, "It feels like we are leaving a funeral." And I agree. This is I've been looking at other people's reaction videos and such. This is a movie that, obviously, since we've discussed the spoilers and you know about the ending, this is a movie people are going to walk out of and they're going to feel sad, they're going to feel mad, they're going to feel angry, they're going to feel resentful, they're going to feel bitter, they're going to feel all these ugly emotions that they do not want to feel because it hurts. It hurts. I mean, you can remind yourself, it's just a movie, they're just fictional characters, it doesn't matter, they're not real. That may be true, but keep in mind that for some of us, for a lot of us, we've been familiar with these characters for decades, since they've been in comic books, and then we finally got to see them on the big screen, and we finally got to see our, favorite comic book heroes on the big screen doing all these movies. And this has been going on for 10 years. We've invested in these movies to see where it was going to go, especially when the first Iron Man was so good and it teased the Avengers. And this is, and then you see some of your favorite characters just go out like this. You're going to feel, kind of emotional, kind of hurt, It may be true that they're not real. It's just a movie. And I get that. But sometimes we allow ourselves to feel, invested in it, where it's gonna hurt, where we do, actually come to care about these characters and how this story goes and how their story goes. At times it's okay to do that, to feel invested, to invest yourself in that, whether it's reading a book, whether it's watching a TV show, whether it's playing a video game, whether it's watching a movie. You can get invested in the story or the characters where you actually do care about their outcome. This was one of the reasons why I fell in love with some of the BioWare games, like the Mass Effect games. By the time I got to Mass Effect 3, I cared about the outcome of the characters I had interacted with, partly because my choices would determine what would happen to them. So I would feel responsible for if something awful happened to them in the story. So it's okay to feel that way, and if it's also okay to feel all those emotions. And this is coming from someone who's trying to have this optimistic long-term view, where I'm looking down the road and I'm seeing that, yeah, this hurts, it's sad, but there's a bright light up ahead down the road where there's a possible way to fix this, to solve this problem, for our heroes to come out on top and save the day. Yes, the bad guy won today. He won this battle. But that doesn't mean the war in Infinity War is over. He won the battle, but he hasn't won the war because remember, he only wanted to kill half the population, and all of our Phase 1 Avengers are still alive. You know, not all the Avengers are gone. You know, all the Phase 1 people are still here, and we have someone on the way who I have heard. I will admit, I don't know that much at all about Captain Marvel, but I have heard a lot of very incredible things about her and how powerful she is. I've heard things like she's able to breathe in space. She has energy blast. She can absorb energy blast. She's the bit I've heard her described. It sounds as if she's the Superman of the Marvel universe. I'm sure some of you more knowledgeable in the Marvel universe would debate or like correct me on that, and feel free to do so. I know like almost nothing about the character other than what I've heard from other people. But basically from what I've heard described, it sounds like she's the Superman of the Marvel universe. And if that's so, then how can you not feel optimistic about her somehow making a difference in saving the day and helping correct all this and fix this and helping them defeat Thanos and stopping his plan. There's rumors and speculation from shots on the set of the movie that they're going to be using time travel to fix this, which to me would make sense to do something involving time travel, not with the time stone, so to speak, but something else, like technology-wise, either involving S.H.I.E.L.D. or Hank Pym, something to go back in time and fix this and reverse this choice. I've heard some say that it could involve the Soul Stone, so somehow where a sacrifice is required to undo a choice or an effect. Like a sacrifice is required for the Soul Stone to reverse Thanos snapping his fingers. And some are speculating, well, maybe then it's going to be Captain America could sacrifice himself and Captain Marvel takes over. There's obviously tons of theories and speculation about how they're going to do this, where they go from here, how they fix or resolve this situation. I would be shocked and very surprised if they actually left this as they are. For one thing, as I said, Black Panther is now the third highest grossing movie of all time. So I'd be shocked if Black Panther stayed dead and they didn't bring him back somehow for sequels, considering how successful the first movie was. They gotta bring him back to make at least one sequel, considering how successful the first movie was. So at this point, I'm completely expecting they are somehow going to utilize a time travel method to somehow fix and resolve the situation, to try and reverse him ever snapping his fingers and wiping out half the universe. Could it be considered a cop-out? Yeah, maybe, but we saw it actually happen. So I don't think it would be a cop-out if we actually saw him succeed and they use a method to try and fix the whole thing. I mean, it's not unheard of. It's not unprecedented. It's been used in other different forms of media, including video games as well as other movies. So I don't think it's a far-fetched concept. It's a comic book movie. They can do all sorts of crazy things in comic book movies, including using time travel to fix and resolve situations as cataclysmic as this. So, but with all that about the ending and how awful it's going to make you sad and it's going to make you feel and all those emotions you're going to experience, despite all that, the movie as a whole was fantastic. There's a lot of great comedy, there's a lot of great action, the emotional roller coaster it takes you on. The villain is phenomenal, and now one of my absolute favorite villains I've ever seen in a movie. Avengers Infinity War, as awful and sad and gut-wrenching as it's going to make you feel, and all the emotions it's going to make you experience, as you reflect on it and look back on it, it was a fantastic movie. And this is a chapter in this story, because obviously we don't know yet the outcome of this story, but this is one of those where when we eventually do get to the outcome of that story and we look back on this chapter, it's going to be like, yeah, what a what a dark chapter in this story it was. But at the end of the day, our heroes were able to defeat the villain and save the day. That's what I'm hoping for. That is going to be the case down the road. Because yes, I mentioned Empire Strikes Back earlier, the comparison. At the time, many thought it was like, how can you have an ending like this for Empire Strikes Back, where the bad guy wins and all of our heroes are in an awful situation? How can you go this direction? We know the outcome of that story. We know what happened at the end of Return of the Jedi. It all worked out. It all worked out in the end. Obviously, the story's still going with the new movies, but my point is that we now look back on Empire Strikes Back and we go, wow, how great was that? That feeling of like, oh my gosh, the bad guys won at the end, but then we see later on that the good guys won in the end. Obviously, different circumstances and situations here, with Thanos, like, accomplishing that horrific goal of his. But I am knowing that this is not the end of the story, that this is only a chapter in the story. It's a very dark, sad, hurtful, painful chapter, but it's just a chapter nonetheless, with more of the story yet to come. I have complete faith in Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, for those of you who don't know who that is, or are not familiar with the name. Kevin Feige is the guy running the whole show. He is the guy on the steering wheel of this ship that has become Marvel Studios and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He is the one at the helm, at the wheel. He is the captain of this ship. He has been the one leading the way the entire time. It is in his, hands, his direction that he is taking all this. And at this point, with his track record, with all that he has done with the previous films, getting us to this point in time, I have complete faith in Kevin Feige that he knows what he's doing. He has, like, charted this whole thing out, this whole story, where he is, like, going, oh, we're going to do this, and he has something really awesome in plan for us. If this is what I wasn't sure if they would be willing to go this far, and they did. If they're willing to go this far, they must have something even better planned for us down the road, which, as a year from now, when Avengers 4 comes out, I'm hoping that the payoff we're going to get is big time. Obviously, I need to see what happens in the next two movies, Ant-Man and the Wasp, as well as the Captain Marvel movie. To me, is the one that I really need to see, because I really need to get familiar with this character, and I really need to have some questions answered about this character and why only now she is showing up. When she possibly could have shown up earlier, but maybe she couldn't have. Obviously, we need those questions answered in this movie. So, in the end, despite the horrific, feeling that you're gonna feel by the end of this movie of, oh my gosh, what just happened? The horrors of seeing these characters that we came to love just evaporate into non-existence. In the end, when you reflect on the movie as a whole, just, wow, what a bold step to go in, and what a fantastic movie. It's 2.5 hours long. It probably could have been longer, but I understand why. But yet, I was never bored. For 2.5 hours, I enjoyed every second of this movie. It was, and that's a great testament to the movie as a whole, that if you feel, there was, I never really felt, okay, because it was late at night, I was curious. During the big Wakanda battle towards the end, I did look at my watch or my phone to see what time it was, to be like, oh, okay, it's only, that time. I thought it was going to be later than that. But that wasn't me, checking and be like, oh my gosh, how much longer of this is there? Because I was thoroughly entertained throughout the entire movie. And the emotional roller coaster it takes you on, it's not a bad thing. I thought Avengers Infinity War was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I would give it a 9 out of 10 if I was to give it some kind of score. It was that good. It was that great. The boldness of this movie to go in this direction, when many of us were not sure if they were willing to do so, but for them to do so, to me, to me, it tells me that they have something even better planned for us down the road, to resolve this. That, yeah, it looks like this is clearly. My dad said to me, the only thing that was missing at the end of this was to be continued, which they probably should have done after that last frame of Thanos before they started the credits. They probably should have showed to be continued to help remind the audience that this is not the end of the story, because I think some people may leave this thinking that's the end of the story when it's really not, especially if you stick around and see the end credit scene involving Nick Fury telling them to send in Captain Marvel. But this is the kind of scenario and movie that we're dealing with. It's whew, man. That whew, like I just kept exhaling, thinking, oh my gosh, like what an experience that was. And I'm eager to go see this again. I want to see this again. Probably not today or tomorrow, probably on maybe Monday when things have slowed down. Usually the theater is a lot slower on weekdays, Monday through Thursday, and there's going to be a lot more seats available, better seats. My dad and I sat like on the far side of the row, so we had a very odd view of the screen, plus the audio was kind of weird with it seemingly having more focus on the music and not as much on the dialogue. I want to have like a seat like in the middle to have a better view of the screen and a better like balance of the audio. So, but I do want to see it again to really absorb everything that was going on, because obviously sometimes you're going to miss some things when you see it for the first time, because you're just kind of like eager to see what was going to happen instead of like really like paying attention to everything that's going on and being said. But I'm very eager to see it again. Really enjoyed it. If people did not like Age of Ultron, I think they're going to change their tune with this movie. I think this is going to be looked back on as one of the best, most memorable chapters any movie has ever had, or any movie series. Obviously, it's not a standalone. But, oh man, that was Avengers Infinity War. That's probably the best way to summarize it, to sum it up, is, well, that was Infinity War. And probably nothing else needs to be said. Like, well, that was Infinity War. So, what did you guys think? If you have stuck around for the last hour plus, listen to me talk about this movie, first off, thank you for your time. What did you guys think? Feel free to let me know what you think. To just, if you want to discuss this, I'm more than open to answer your questions and discuss this with you in this movie. Just don't leave any comments like, this movie was awful, I hate it, or like some people, when I did my review for Last Jedi, they tried to put a link to the pirated version of the movie. Don't do that. Don't leave weird links to try and like pirated version of the movie. Don't leave hateful comments, just like being all like someone tried to leave a comment in my Last Jedi review about how they thought the movie wasn't like a complete like insult or backstabbing to the fans and all that. Like, if you're feeling very hateful and resentful right now, just don't leave anything like that. I want the comment section to be like an intellectual discussion of this film, of the spoilers, just your thoughts, but leave it clean and not very negative, okay? No negative, just hateful, ugly stuff. Just let's just talk, okay? Let's just discuss it. Yeah, as civil people, okay? So, that was Avengers Infinity War. Whew, man, am I eager to see how this plays out over the next year. A year from now, for when Avengers 4 comes out, cannot get here soon enough. I'm going to leave it at that. Avengers 4 cannot get here soon enough. And I will see you guys next time, probably for when Ant-Man and the Wasp comes out. I will probably discuss that, especially if it involves anything important, as well as obviously the Captain Marvel movie. And I will see you guys then.